Joan Park stood at the entrance of Vora Academy, the most famous school in the galaxy. His heart beat fast as he looked at the tall, crystal-like building that seemed to touch the sky. This was his first day as part of the human exchange program with the Galactic Federation. Deep breaths, he told himself, adjusting the blue uniform that felt too tight around his shoulders. Earth had only recently joined the Federation, and Jun was one of the first humans to study at an alien school. A small floating ball with lights came up to him. "Welcome to Vora Academy. I am Guidebot. Please follow me to your room." As Jun walked through the wide hallways, he noticed many different aliens. Some had forearms, others had scales instead of skin, and a few even floated instead of walking. They all stared at him and moved away when he got close. "Why are they avoiding me?" Jun asked the Guidebot. "You are from Earth, a planet classified as a death world. Many students have never met a Deathworlder before." The bot's lights blinked. "They think you might be dangerous." Jun frowned. He had heard this term before but didn't understand it fully. What makes Earth a death world? High gravity, extreme weather, dangerous animals, and many natural disasters. Most alien species would die quickly on your planet. The Guidebot showed Jun to a small room with a bed, desk, and window looking out at the Academy's garden. "Your schedule has been sent to your tablet. First class begins in 1 hour. Physical adaptation studies with Professor Tool." After unpacking his few belongings, Jun made his way to his first class. The room was large with strange equipment he had never seen before. About 20 alien students were already there, all keeping their distance from him. A tall, thin alien with blue skin and golden eyes entered the room. He had webbed hands and feet, suggesting his species evolved in water. "I am Professor Tool," he announced, his voice surprisingly deep. His golden eyes fixed on Jun. "Ah, our human student has arrived." The room went quiet as everyone looked at Jun. "Is it true humans can survive falls from great heights?" asked a small, furry alien with large eyes. Before Jun could answer, another student with insect-like features clicked. "I heard they can go days without water. And they live in gravity that would crush most of us," added a third. Professor Tool raised his hand for silence. "This is why physical adaptation studies will be particularly interesting this term. We have a Deathworlder among us." Jun felt uncomfortable with all the attention. "We're not that special. Earth is just home to us." "Today we will begin with gravity adaptation," Professor Tool said, ignoring Jun's comment. He pressed a button on his wrist device, and part of the floor changed color. "This area can simulate different gravity levels. Most non-native students find our standard gravity challenging. Let's see how our human performs." Jun stepped onto the marked area, feeling nervous as the other students watched. He felt a slight increase in weight. The gravity was now about 20% stronger than Earth's. "This is Vora's natural gravity," Professor Tool explained. "How do you feel?" "It's a bit heavier than Earth, but not bad," Jun replied. The professor looked surprised. He adjusted the settings, and Jun felt the pull increase again. "Now it's at 1.5 times Earth gravity," Professor Tool said. "Most species would be unable to stand." Jun felt the extra weight but could still move normally. "It's like carrying a heavy backpack," he said with a shrug. The class watched in amazement. A green-skinned student with 4 arms whispered loud, enough for everyone to hear, "The human isn't even struggling." After class, a small group of students surrounded Jun in the hallway. The insect-like student introduced himself as Nix. "That was impressive," Nix clicked. "No first-year student has ever handled the gravity test so easily." "I'm Lear," said the furry alien with big eyes. "Would you sit with us at lunch? We have so many questions about Earth." For the first time since arriving, Jun smiled. Maybe being a Deathworlder wasn't so bad after all. That night, as Jun lay in bed looking at the strange stars outside his window, his tablet beeped with a message. It was from Professor Tool. "Tomorrow's class. Temperature resistance. Prepare yourself. Human, the real tests are just beginning." Jun felt a mix of worry and excitement. He was representing all of humanity here. He had to show these aliens that humans weren't just survivors from a harsh world. They were adaptable, friendly, and ready to join the galactic community as equals. As he drifted off to sleep, June wondered what other impossible challenges awaited him at Vora Academy. The next morning, June woke up early. He stretched his muscles, preparing for the day ahead. The school's strange food didn't taste good, but he ate it anyway, knowing he would need energy for Professor Toole's temperature resistance class. When June entered the gymnasium, he noticed it looked completely different from yesterday. The large room was now divided into 5 sections, each with a different color on the floor. "Welcome to temperature adaptation," Professor Toole announced as the students gathered. "Today you will experience 5 different temperature zones. Your task is simple. Stay in each zone for 5 minutes without protective gear." Nix clicked his mandibles nervously beside June. "The red zone goes up to 40 degrees. That's deadly for my species." June nodded sympathetically. On Earth, 40 degrees Celsius, 104 degrees Celsius, was very hot but not deadly for humans. Professor Toole pointed to a wall of sensors. "These will monitor your body's response. If you feel you cannot continue, exit the zone immediately." The first student to try was Lear, the furry alien. She entered the blue zone, the cold zone. After just 2 minutes, her fur puffed up and she began shaking. She had to leave early. -10 degrees Celsius is too cold for Morians, Professor Toole explained. Their home planet never drops below 15 degrees. When it was June's turn, he walked confidently into the cold zone. The chill reminded him of winter in Seoul. It wasn't comfortable, but it was far from dangerous. He stood calmly for the full 5 minutes. "Remarkable," Professor Toole said, checking the sensors. "Your body temperature barely changed." June then moved to the red zone. The heat hit him like a sauna and he began to sweat, but he stayed for the full time. Other students watched in amazement as he completed all 5 zones without difficulty. "How is this possible?" asked a tall, plant-like student. "No single species can handle all these environments. Humans evolved on a planet with many different climates," June explained. "We have deserts, Arctic regions, rainforests, and mountains. Our bodies adapt." After class, Nix approached June. "There's a swimming test tomorrow. Will water be a problem for you?" June smiled. "I'm not the best swimmer, but I can manage." The next day, the gymnasium had been transformed into a large pool with obstacles. Professor Toole explained they would need to swim through underwater tunnels while holding their breath. "Humans can't breathe underwater, right?" Nix asked. "No, we can't," June admitted. "Then how long can you hold your breath?" "About a minute or 2 with practice." The water test proved more challenging than the previous ones. Many species in the class had gills or could absorb oxygen through their skin. June had to rely on his lung capacity and swimming skills. When his turn came, June dove into the water. The tunnels twisted and turned underwater. His lungs began to burn, but he pushed forward, remembering his swimming lessons back on Earth. Just when he thought he might need to surface, he spotted the exit and pushed through. He gasped for air as he surfaced, finishing the course just within the time limit. "Not bad for a species without gills," Professor Toole noted, making marks on his tablet. By the end of the week, word had spread throughout the academy about the human who could handle any physical challenge. Students from other classes came to watch June during physical adaptation studies. One afternoon, as June was eating lunch with his new friends, a group of older students approached their table. Their leader was a tall, elegant alien named Dax, with shimmering scales and 6 fingers on each hand. "So you're the famous Deathworlder," Dax said, looking down at June. "I've been hearing interesting stories about you." "I'm just trying to pass my classes," June replied modestly. "Easy for you to say," Dax's voice had an edge to it. "These tests were designed to challenge different species. No one should be able to pass all of them." "I'm sorry if that bothers you," June said. "It doesn't bother me," Dax smiled, "but it wasn't friendly. It makes me curious. I'm part of the elite training program. We have access to the advanced simulation room. Perhaps you'd like to try a real challenge." Nix tugged at June's sleeve. "The advanced simulation room is no joke. It's for final year students only." "What kind of challenge?" June asked, ignoring his friend's warning. "A survival course," Dax replied. 3 days from now, unless you're afraid?" After Dax left, Nix looked worried. That wasn't just a friendly invitation. "The elite students don't like that you're making their difficult tests look easy," June sighed. "I didn't come here to compete. I just want to learn and make friends." "Well," Lear said, "you've definitely made an impression. And now it seems you have your first real challenge." The news about Dax's challenge spread quickly through Vora Academy. By the next morning, everyone knew about the upcoming test in the advanced simulation room. As June walked to his classes, he noticed more aliens watching him, whispering as he passed. During lunch, another human student sat down at June's table. She had short black hair and a confident smile. "You must be June," she said. "I'm Mina. I've been hearing about your gym class success." June was happy to see another human face. "Nice to meet you. Are you also taking physical adaptation studies?" "Different class, same reactions," Mina laughed. "Yesterday I broke the record. In the reaction speed test, my teacher couldn't believe it. He made me do it 3 times. Nix clicked his mandibles in what June had learned was laughter. "You Deathworlders are causing quite a stir around here." Speaking of stirs, Mina lowered her voice. "I heard about your challenge with Dax. Be careful. He's from a high-gravity planet and is top of his class in physical training." June frowned. "I didn't want trouble. I'm just trying to pass my classes." After lunch, June's next class was Xenobiology, the study of alien life forms. As he entered the classroom, he noticed a familiar tall figure already seated. It was Professor Tull, but he wasn't teaching this class. "Professor, are you taking this class too?" June asked in surprise. Professor Tull's golden eyes blinked. "I'm conducting research on adaptive physiology across species. Your performance has been enlightening." Before June could ask more questions, the teacher arrived and class began. Throughout the lesson, June felt Professor Tull watching him. That evening, June was studying in his room when his door chimed. It was Mina. "We need to talk," she said, her face serious. "Can I come in?" Once inside, she pulled out her tablet. "Look what I found in the school database." She showed him a file marked Project Deathworld, Human Physiological Assessment. "I shouldn't have access to this," she admitted. "But I'm good with computers, and I got curious about why the teachers are so interested in us." The file contained detailed reports about both June and Mina's physical performances, with notes comparing them to other species. "They're studying us," June said, feeling uncomfortable. "Like lab animals." Mina nodded. "And Dax's challenge isn't just a student rivalry. Look at this message." She showed him a communication between Professor Tull and another faculty member. "The advanced simulation will provide valuable data on human stress responses. Approved." The teachers are behind this challenge, June realized. They want to push us to our limits. The next day in physical adaptation studies, the class was testing balance and coordination. Students had to cross a series of moving platforms over a soft foam pit. Most aliens struggled. Their bodies evolved for different types of movement. When it was June's turn, he noticed Professor Tull adjusting the controls, making the platforms move faster. June managed to stay on his feet, using the natural human sense of balance. When he finished, the class applauded. "Impressive adaptation," Professor Tull noted. "Humans seem to have a remarkable inner ear system." After class, Dax was waiting in the hallway. "Enjoying your fame, Deathworlder?" "I'm not looking for fame," June replied. "Well, you've got it." Dax moved closer. "Half the school will be watching tomorrow. I've added a few special surprises to the simulation." Later that day, June met Mina in the library. "I've been thinking about this challenge," she said. "Maybe we should go to the school administration." June shook his head. "The administration is part of it. They want to test us." "Then why not give them a real test?" Mina suggested with a smile. "If they want to see what humans can do, let's show them." That evening, they found Nix and Lear in the student lounge. "We heard about the teachers' involvement," Nix said. "It's not fair that they're using you like this." "We want to help," Lear added. "Friends support each other, even across species." June felt touched by their loyalty. "Thank you, but how can you help?" "I've seen the advanced simulation room," Nix explained. "There are observer controls outside. We can monitor what's happening and alert you if things get dangerous." As they talked, Professor Tull entered the lounge. He saw the 4 of them together and walked over. "Preparing for tomorrow, human?" he asked. "Yes, Professor," June replied, trying to hide his nervousness. "Good," Professor Tull said. "Tomorrow will be educational for everyone." He paused. You? No, on most worlds, your Earth would be considered too dangerous for intelligent life to evolve. Yet here you are. After he left, Lear shivered. Why do I feel like tomorrow is more than just a student challenge? June looked at his friends. Because it is. This isn't just about me proving myself to Dax. The whole school is watching to see what humans are capable. Mina nodded. Then let's give them something to remember. The day of the challenge arrived. June woke up feeling both nervous and excited. He ate a good breakfast and did some stretching exercises to prepare his body. When he left his room, Mina was waiting in the hallway. Ready? She asked. As ready as I'll ever be, June replied. They walked together to the advanced simulation, room located in the basement of the academy. The hallways were unusually crowded with students of all species, watching and whispering as the two humans passed. I didn't expect so many spectators, June whispered. Word has spread, Mina said. This isn't just about Dax's challenge anymore. Everyone wants to see what the Deathworlders can do. The advanced simulation room was a large dome-shaped chamber with black walls covered in tiny lights. Outside the room was a control area with screens and seats for observers. June was surprised to see not just students, but also several teachers, including Professor Dax was already there with his friends. He wore a tight-fitting exercise suit and looked confident. Welcome, human, he said. Ready to see what real training feels like? Professor Toole stepped forward. Today's simulation will test adaptability in extreme environments. Both participants will face the same challenges, though not necessarily in the same order. Nix and Lear wished June good luck before joining the observers behind the glass wall. Mina squeezed his hand. Remember, she whispered, they're studying us. Show them what humans can do. June and Dax entered the simulation room from opposite doors. Inside, the black walls seemed to disappear as the simulation began, replaced by a rocky landscape that looked like no place on Earth. The challenge begins now, Professor Toole's voice announced. Complete all 5 zones to succeed. The ground beneath June's feet suddenly shifted, becoming loose sand that made walking difficult. The air grew hot and dry. A desert zone, he realized. In the distance, he could see Dax moving through what looked like a swamp. Different challenges for each of us, June thought as he pushed forward through the sand. The heat increased until sweat poured down his face. His throat felt dry, but he kept going, remembering hiking trips in summer back on Earth. When he reached the end of the desert zone, the landscape changed again. Now he stood at the edge of a deep ravine with small, floating platforms providing the only way across. The gravity suddenly increased, making each step feel like his legs were made of lead. Across the room, he glimpsed Dax moving through what appeared to be a freezing snowstorm. Each of them faced different challenges based on their species' weaknesses. June carefully jumped from platform to platform, adjusting to the heavy gravity. His Earth-evolved muscles strained but held firm. When he reached the other side, he heard gasps from the observers. The third zone brought darkness and cold. The temperature dropped rapidly, and June could see his breath in the dim light. Strange sounds echoed around him, testing his nerve as much as his body. He kept moving forward, using his hands to feel the way when he couldn't see. By the 4th zone, June's body was tired, but his mind remained sharp. This zone had normal gravity but very little oxygen. He found himself gasping for breath as he climbed a steep hill. His lungs burned, reminding him of a mountain climbing trip where the air had been thin at high altitude. Just as he reached what he thought was the end of the 4th zone, the whole room shook violently. The simulation flickered, and Professor Toll's voice came through speakers. Attention. Difficulty level has been increased to maximum. This is now beyond standard parameters. Nix's voice could be heard protesting in the background, but the simulation continued. The 5th zone appeared before June, and it combined all the previous challenges, shifting gravity, extreme heat, that suddenly changed to freezing cold, low oxygen, and unstable ground that moved beneath his feet. June saw Dax struggling in his own final zone, the aliens' movements becoming slower. Despite their rivalry, June felt worried for him. The final obstacle was a wall that seemed impossible to climb, too smooth, too high, with handholds that appeared and disappeared randomly. The air grew thinner, and June's vision began to blur. At the edges. This is beyond testing, he realized. They're pushing us to our absolute limits. Drawing on his last reserves of strength, June studied the wall carefully. Instead of trying to follow the disappearing handholds, he looked for patterns. There. Every 7 seconds the same holds appeared in sequence. Timing his moves carefully, June began to climb. His muscles screamed in protest, but the survival instincts that humans had developed on their dangerous home planet kicked in. Where other species might have specialized adaptations, humans had versatility and determination. Near the top, a handhold disappeared just as he reached for it. June's fingers slipped, and he started to fall. In a desperate move, he lunged sideways, catching another hold that had just appeared. With one final effort, he pulled himself over the top. As he stood on the summit, breathing hard, the simulation suddenly ended. The black walls of the room reappeared. Across the chamber, Dax was on his knees, exhausted but also finished. The door opened and Mina rushed in, followed by Professor Toole and the others. That was not the approved program, Professor Toole said, his golden eyes wide with what looked like both concern and fascination. Someone overrode the safety protocols. June was too tired to respond. But as he looked at the amazed faces of the aliens watching him, he knew that today, humanity had made quite an impression on the galaxy. After the simulation ended, the medical team rushed into the room. They checked both June and Dax carefully. June was tired but otherwise fine. Dax needed oxygen and rest but would recover. Who changed the program? Professor Toole demanded, looking at the control panel. A tall alien in a formal uniform stepped forward. June had never seen her before. She had silver skin and deep purple eyes. "I did," she said calmly. "I am Director Vela of the Galactic Education Council. We needed to see the true limits of our new friends." The room went quiet. Even Professor Toole looked surprised. "You put students at risk," he protested. "Calculated risk," Director Vela replied. "And now we have our answer." She turned to look at June. "Remarkable performance, human, truly remarkable." Later that day, June sat in the medical center while a doctor checked his vital signs one more time. "Your recovery rate is impressive," the doctor said. "Your heart rate and breathing are already back to normal." Mina sat nearby with Nix and Lear. "The whole school is talking about what happened," she told June. "They're calling you the impossible human." The door opened and Dax entered. He looked tired but walked on his own. He stopped in front of June. "Good performance today," he said stiffly. "You too," June replied. "That final zone was brutal." Dax was quiet for a moment. "I've never failed a physical challenge before. My people are from a high-gravity world. We're supposed to be the strongest species in the Federation." "Different kinds of strength," June said. "Humans aren't the strongest or the fastest. We're just, adaptable." "That's what makes you dangerous," Dax said, but his voice had lost its edge. "And valuable." He held out his hand in what he had learned was a human greeting gesture. June shook it, surprised. The next morning, all students were called to the main hall. Director Vela stood on the stage with Professor Toole and other teachers. "Yesterday's events have accelerated our plans," she announced. "As many of you have guessed, the human exchange program has always been more than a simple cultural exchange." The hall was completely silent as she continued. "Earth was classified as a death world when we first discovered it. Most council members believed humans would be too aggressive, too unpredictable to join the greater galactic community." June and Mina exchanged looks. This explained the wariness they had faced. The exchange program was designed to test whether humans could adapt to our society and whether their unique abilities could benefit the Federation, Director Vela explained. "Yesterday's demonstration proved what some of us have long suspected. Humans have extraordinary adaptive capabilities." Professor Toole stepped forward. "In just 3 weeks, our human students have broken records in physical endurance, temperature, adaptation, problem-solving under stress and recovery rates. They have also formed friendships across species barriers." He nodded toward Nix and Lear sitting with the humans. "Therefore," Director Vela announced, "the Council has voted to offer Earth full membership in the Galactic Federation, effective immediately." The hall erupted in a mixture of sounds, cheers, clicks, whistles, and hums, as each species reacted in their own way. After the announcement, students surrounded June and Mina, asking questions about Earth and humans. Even Dax joined the group. "Will more humans come to the academy now?" someone asked. "Yes," Director Vela said, approaching their table. "In fact, we're creating a new program. We've learned that what's everyday life for humans can help prepare other species for crisis situations." She looked directly at June. "We would like you and Mina to help develop this program. Your perspectives as Deathworlders will be valuable." 2 weeks later, June stood before a class of 20 alien students. The sign on the door read, "Deathworld Adaptation Techniques." "Welcome to your first lesson," he said. "Today we'll start with something simple, how to fall safely." As he demonstrated a basic rolling fall, he caught sight of Professor Toole watching from the doorway. The professor gave him a nod of approval. After class, June met Mina, Nix, and Lear in the garden. More students joined them, a mix of species all talking together. "Things are changing fast," Mina said. "Have you seen the applications? Hundreds of humans want to join the academy now. And many of our students want to visit Earth," Nix added, "though they'll need special training first." "From Deathworlders to teachers," June said with a smile. "Who would have thought?" As the sun set over the academy, casting a purple glow over the alien landscape, June felt at home for the first time since arriving. The word Deathworlder was still used, but now it sounded like respect, not fear. That night he received a message from Earth. The Federation Council had approved plans for an alien exchange program to Earth with special protective measures in place. The message ended with a note that made him laugh. "Warning to exchange students, Earth has variable gravity, high, unpredictable weather, thousands of potentially dangerous species, and humans who think this is all perfectly normal. Welcome to the Death World. You're going to love it here.